Morning, everybody. My name is Joan Jack, for those of you that don't know me. And I was laughing because this computer program here said, "It's showtime." It made me laugh. Anyways, some of you know me, some of you don't. So I'll introduce myself. My name's Joan Jack. I'm from Barons River, Manitoba. Grew up a storekeeper's daughter on an island, imagine, and left Barons River when I think I was 12. Yeah, there's no high school in my community. Even today, there's still no high school. And as my career has progressed, I've decided that I need to continue to speak out and encourage others to do that as well. So I'm just going to be start. I'm nervous. Oh, I'm so nervous. Um, Brave Indigenous Conversations was an idea that came from. I gotta see if I can. Anybody? How could you? I don't know how to do this. I haven't done this before. Anyway, I'm just going to carry on. My first guest will be Shannon Leigh, who can introduce herself. She should be joining us momentarily. She's in Italy right now, so the technology, when it works, is great. I'm just going to message somebody because I seem to be having some technical difficulty. I'm just going to. Can you see me on your wall? Because this woman was saying she's standing by, but on this device, it says there's 0 viewers. So it's all good. This is our first one. And I was feeling so scared. And then I saw this meme pop up that said, "Your fear is full of shit." So yeah, it's just learning new things, very, very challenging. So I'm just waiting for Shannon to join me. And I told her to give me a couple of minutes to introduce, which I've now learned is too long. And I'm probably going to be developing one of those. If you listen to podcasts, they have like a recorded introduction that's the same every time. But I'll tell you a little bit about the plans before she pops on. So what I'm going to be doing is I have hired somebody who is a professional at this social media stuff, and she's going to be helping me. And the recording of this podcast will be posted to a link if you missed the live. If people missed the live, or if they heard something they want to listen to again, I do that sometimes. If I hear a podcast that I really liked, I download it and then I listen to it again. And my plan is to I know so many people, so I have no shortage of people that I want to have conversation with. Like, I love people, and people are so interesting. So I've got people lined up already, maybe about 5, 6, 7 now, that are willing to come on the podcast with me. Indigenous, non-Indigenous, doesn't matter. This is what a brave Indigenous conversation is a to me is a conversation where you speak your truth and you relate with somebody else. So I'm just going to check and see if my friend. Yes, I did. It's not working. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure why it's not broadcast to Facebook. Oh, so maybe you have to go to the link to know there's 2 people watching. Oh gosh. Okay, well, I guess you'll have to watch the recording. This will be good once we get going. Believe me, Shannon's amazing. So my plan is to do the live broadcast and accommodate my guest's schedule. And then every Friday, I don't even know where yet, there'll be a link posted to watch the recording of whatever podcast I've done. And I want to at least do one a week, have one guest a week. And I was talking with my son, Henry, last night, and he said, "Mom," he said, "if people are interested, you should do as many as you can." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's something to think about." And so I'm not sure why this. Oh, there's Shannon. Now, what do I press? Hi, Shannon. How come I can't see you? Can you see me, Shannon? Can you talk? I want to hear you. I can't hear you. Oh man, we're having technical difficulty. No, can't hear you. We got 3 people watching. I guess we should have done a fake one, eh? Leave studio, no, settings, mute. No, I don't want to mute myself. Bear with us, we'll get it. And then the woman I have will maybe edit this one because it's pretty bad. Oh my God. I can see you kind of fuzzy, but I wanted you to be side by side. And I've pressed a little screen that says shift 2. Okay, shift 2. No. Cropped layout, press shift 2. No. Son of a gun, I can't even hear you though, so I'm not sure what's going on. Hang on, let me press buttons. Oh man. Okay, settings, camera, recording. No. Guests. Guests can stream to their own destination. Guests see viewers. Guests must be authenticated. No, well, Shannon's pretty damn authentic. Okay. What the hell? Well, I can see Shannon can hear me, so invite. She's there. So what the heck? I need to hear you to have a conversation. Too funny. What should we do? I can't hear you. Okay, go to my phone. Okay, we're good at this. Okay, so what do you want me to see on my phone? Did you text me? It says I am backstage. I have to add you. Okay, how do I add you? Okay, private brand. Okay, we'll get it. We'll get it. Okay, I don't see a backstage thing. Okay, weird. Okay, we've got 5 people patiently waiting now. So I have to find backstage. Maybe ban from studio, kick from studio, it says. I could ban you, Shannon, and kick you out. No. Okay, present slides, no. Okay, there's a button here that says having issues. I'm going to type it, press it, and see what happens. Oh, I could email. Oh, maybe I could. Oh, man. I watched all the training, too. Okay, we'll get it. We'll get it. Somebody pray. People pray out there, please. I don't see anything that says backstage is the thing. Comments. There's a comment already. Having issues. Plus, I don't want a plus new layout. Oh, no, I changed it completely. Oh, okay. Press escape. What are we going to do? Okay, people are giving up, but we'll edit this after. That's okay. I still want to have the conversation with you, Shannon, because I love conversation with you. Oh, look, there's a little, on mine, there's a little screen. Oh, no. Okay, backstage. Where's my media girl? Maybe she's awake. Hang on. I'm going to text Joanna. Yeah, we'll edit this later. Help! Exclamation mark. Are you there? Okay. I know what to do. I'm going to search on, I'll just search Google. Can you search Google too? Shannon, this is StreamYard.com. Okay. StreamYard. I didn't know this was going to happen. StreamYard.com, live-based streaming. No, that didn't work. Okay, YouTube's better. Okay, I'm going to search YouTube. I use dictation all the time. How do I move someone from backstage in StreamYard? Search. Okay. Top 5 mistakes.
Hey, friends. With the transition into the virtual auditioning environment that we're seeing as a result of the pandemic, having really solid...
Okay, talk too much. Don't talk too much.
So that first picture that's there has to...
Shut up.
...showing us that you know how this game works. We are not going to cast you if you aren't playing the game. So it doesn't really matter.
Oh, God. That didn't work. Okay, I need some technical support here. Now we have 8 people watching us fumble. So that's good. So this is real life. Brave Indigenous Conversations is the real shit. This is how it really goes. Okay, now somebody from FSIN is calling me. I can't take a call. I'm doing a podcast. Okay, hang on now. So maybe you can find something, Shannon. Did you find anything yet? How to remove, or there should be like, I'm going to try this chat. Okay, just bear with us. And yeah. Joan Jack, email. How do I move someone from backstage? I guess I should have watched more training, is what I'm learning in this moment. And you know what? This is my God's way of keeping me humble. My relationship with God. I'm like, I'm doing something really cool and really big. Oh, okay. Hi, Joan Jack. It's Moylin. Oh, they answered already, Shannon. Okay. Okay. Hover your mouse over the area where you see them, then select add stream. Oh, for God's sake.
Yay!
Oh my God. Hilarious. Oh my God, just gonna tell this man thank you. Okay, hang on. Oh wow. Wow. Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'd like to start over for my editor lady so she doesn't have to fudge around. She might find some good lines in that first part. Okay, you're welcome, he says, happy to help. All right, I'm going to close that chat. And this is so amazing. You're in Italy. I can't even get over that. Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, pull my bra down. Okay, straighten everything. Straighten the girls up. Morning, everyone. It's Joan Jack. This is Brave Indigenous Conversations, episode 1. And Brave Indigenous Conversations, there's a backstory. So I'll be asking Shannon to talk about that. But what I've always wanted, those of you who know me know that I'm called outspoken. I'm called lots of names. I'm called bossy. I'm called pushy. I'm called laterally violent. I'm called aggressive. I mean, I think it's just because I don't have a penis, actually. But that's another story. Nailed it, eh? So
Nailed it.
yeah, I've decided that people have, well, how this all started was a few years ago. I was beaking off about something, and the person I was talking to said, "Oh my God, you're a female Joe Rogan." And I was like, "Who's Joe Rogan?" And I went and looked, and like the guy has 14,700,000 followers. Yeah, and he's very opinionated, and he interviews people, and he's, it's really, in my opinion, male privilege, which good for him, good for him. And so, because years ago, I used to say, when I grew up, I'm going to be Rex Murphy, because in Manitoba, there was a guy like Joe Rogan who always did this stuff and ups, some people loved him, some people hated him. That's how it is for me anyway. Some people love me, some people hate me. Good. Some people like strawberries, some people like chocolate. It's okay. And so other people have said to me, you should do a podcast and talk with people, because that's where the beauty comes out, is in the conversations, eh? And I was resistant because I'm pretty much a professional volunteer. And with the support of my birth family, actually, if I didn't have their financial support, I don't know what I would do. But, well, I suppose I'd get a job. Anyway, so I decided, okay, it's time. It's time to do a podcast. And then I thought, well, obviously my first guest is going to be Shannon, because the name Brave Indigenous Conversations was birthed from our relationship. Okay. Would you like to introduce yourself, Shannon? I would like you to.
Okay. Oh my goodness. What do I say? Well, I'm in Italy, and my background is in policing. So I was a police officer for 15 years. And then I left policing and began consulting in project management, program development in domestic violence prevention. And now I am continuing to do that. And I'm also making a life in Italy, in my what feels like my land. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it would be really good if we started our conversation, and because this is an Indigenous conversation, we don't have like an agenda. We don't know where we're going to end up. We're just on a journey together, which I think is the beauty of our culture. We just share. And so, I mean, it's not that you don't know you're going hunting. Of course, you know you're going hunting, but you're not really sure where you're going to end up. You're not really sure where the moose are. You just go with the flow. So that's how our conversations are going to be on this podcast. I was thinking that it would be really good to start by you, and you're always honest. I love that about you. You're always, we're the same. We're two, my two, how does that saying go? My sisters from whatever. I can't even get it, so don't worry about it. From another mother anyway. And
From another.
yeah, yeah. So even that saying, see, brother from another mother. When I was trying to make it female, it didn't work. Anyhow, when we first met, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about the training program at all that we were in. Can you guide me on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So those of you that know me know I love learning like I'm a sponge my whole life. I would always have 5 books on the go, depending on my mood, whatever. I would be in courses. I mean, I have degrees. I follow elders. I followed my husband around in the bush for 30 years. Like I love learning. I love it. And then I love applying it like right away. As soon as I learn something new, I apply it. It's if I can, except when it's like addiction. I have trouble with chips, but anyway. So uh, I started my niece Genoa Esquiro, whom I didn't have permission to say her name. Now that might get me in trouble. Oh well, she's amazing. Anyway, she enrolled me in this professional development program called Landmark Worldwide, and I didn't go because I wanted to learn. I went because I was suspicious. I went because I thought, why is my husband's First Nation spending, all thousands of dollars sending people to Vancouver to learn from white people? Like, what the hell is that? That's just bullshit. So I thought, well, I'm, the big savior. I'm going to go down there and check it out. So lo and behold, I go and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And so it's basically, in my opinion, like in Ojibwe, I'm Ojibwe. This means I'm responsible for myself. I own myself. And that's basically the foundation of that program, is that teaching us, helping us, not teaching, it's empowering us, creating space where we can choose to be responsible for ourselves and not be victim. Like I'm so not a victim. I find myself acting like one still, it's like, oop, okay. So and Shannon is a seminar leader in that training. And I met her. I'm trying to think I think it was Breakthroughs, the seminar, Breakthrough seminar, I think that
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But anyways, and then when I met her, I thought, oh my God, how did I get in a seminar with Mrs. Wright? Probably because I'm Mrs. Wright. Sister Wright.
I see you.
Yeah, I see you. Yeah. And so I loved it when you shared with me the experience of our different worldviews confronting. Can you talk about that a bit? Whatever you feel like.
Yeah, I know it's a little different every time, but let me just so it's good that you created that, because if you can imagine, I'm the seminar leader and I'm going to have a conversation with one of my participants. So, right away there's this. Can you see me?
Yeah, but now my husband's in the living room trying to call me, for God's sake. I'm just going to yell. Sorry, everybody. This can be edited out after. Brian, just come sit in here because you're calling my phone. He wants to listen to us. And I tried to show him how to use his iPhone. Like, yeah, my husband has a phone, but he's better with a 30-06, I'll tell you. So I said, just come and sit in here and listen to us. Okay, start wherever you want again. Yeah.
Yeah, and so so I'm going to have a conversation with you, and I don't even remember what was there. I think there was session that you couldn't be at or something like that. So we got into a conversation, and you were sharing what you were dealing with in that moment. And what was there for me, and this is the beginning, before all of our conversations, was well, she just doesn't get this integrity thing, like, just be your word, right? And how simple is it? Just be your word, and as there was a conversation that we got in, and I realized in this conversation, and we were like, literally everyone who's watching this, you have to get like, I was being very gracious because I'm really good at that, right? But just so damn arrogant about it, right? Like, I'm going to be so great with this person and she's going to see it my way, right? Eventually. And I'm just going to show her the way, right? And then she'll have power. Like, I could give you something. And when you were sharing your life, and thank goodness, like, it's a little embarrassing, but not really, because I've embarrassed myself so many times now. I'm just kind of getting used to it. But it's like there was this point where I could hear myself and I could feel, where you were not pushing. You were just like, this is the way it is. And I could start to feel my righteousness. I could just, and then you were sharing about what was happening, and I was like, well, and I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, I'm white. I have, privilege because, I'm white, I'm whatever. But you know what? Like, my mom was 17 when she had me. I was like the first, not really the first, but the first of four, all a year apart. There's violence in our relationship. My dad pointed guns at us and beat my mom, and my stepdad beat my mom. And stepdad was Cree, and my mom was danced in the women's hat dance in the Coast Salish, and I've been abused, and I've been poor, and I've been with the Indigenous peoples, and I know I got your world, and I was like, and then. And it took more than one conversation. And I really acknowledge you, Joan, because did not hit the end button, on our conversations. Because at that point it was all Zoom, right? It was just, a miracle, right? But there was a point where I could hear my arrogance. And I just really got impacted by that. This is what we settlers do, and we don't have a clue. And I have said, I'm not about helping, and helping is diminishing. And here I am just being this arrogant. I'm going to make something available for somebody. And I know what it's like to walk in your shoes. It's like, really? No freaking idea. And when I think that was, it was a couple conversations in when that really clicked for me. And there was something that you said, which is that, I am my land. And that's where the crack, like, it's like, I am my land. That is not in my world. That's not in my world. Like, I'm Canadian. I'm Irish background, I'm Italian background, but I am my land. What the heck is that? So that's where it started to go, where I realized one thing: I talk way too damn much. So I'm going to shut up in a minute. I always have something to say that I think is the right thing, and listening is where it happens. And I'm so grateful for your listening.
Well, I'm really grateful, Shannon, that your word, I'm making this up now, I've not actually heard you say these exact words, but your behavior, like your word is that you're open and loving and a stand for the world, and I've experienced you that way. And so even when we were in what people would perceive as conflict, it's through staying in that space of the conflict that our best conversations came out. I think in one of the things I feel like sharing right now is I was driving through Inklakupmuk territory down by Merritt, British Columbia, with Cuenco Shockley years ago. And we're coming out of, I'm trying to think of the name of Nicola. Is it Nicola Valley? I don't know. Coming out of there, and you could see the land, the whole side hill. And this, to some people, like, they say that I'm simple-minded or stating the obvious or over dramatic or whatever, but it's just how the world occurs for me. Sorry. And anyways, I could see the whole, or the other thing I got in law school a lot was, you're stating the obvious. And I'm like, well, yeah, because no one is demonstrating it. So you don't know it if you're not. I saw the side hill, and I saw the whole forest, and the various tree species were all living together in relative harmony, I guess. I mean, I'm not a tree, so I don't know how that's going really, but they were all, it was beautiful. They were all living and being who they were. And I thought to myself, why can't we be like that? Why can't humans be like that? And I mean, I know that's a grossly oversimplified question and vision, but really, so you and I have had several conversations about, I'm a birch tree, as an Anishinaabe, I identify with birch trees. I mean, the birch canoes, all kind. I'm a birch tree. And so I've told you that as I've gotten to know you, I see you as a tall blue spruce. They're so beautiful. And they just stand out in the spruce forest. And there's their pine needle, they're not pine needle, their needles are actually shimmer in the light, and that's why they're called blue, because they look kind of blue-green. Anyways, and then I was telling Brian that, who's been a big, huge influence on my life. I was telling Brian about my vision and all that. And I said, too bad we can't be like trees, like trees aren't mean. And he said to me, yes, they are. And I was like, what? Because this guy has such a worldview. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, think about it. When we're walking on the trail to go to the Nakana, I used to do, he still does, for 3.5 days when I'm there, and whatever, walk through the mountains, like literally, like it's like suckholing, crying, screaming, swearing, having profound insight, suckholing, crying, screaming, swearing, having profound insight for 3 days. He said, where on the trail is your best, like, where is it best to walk for you? I thought about it. I said, in the pine flats. He said, yeah, because pine trees are mean. He said their pine needles drop and they kill everything on the ground. They won't live with anybody. He said when the forest starts to change, only the strongest trees, he said, are at the edge. Another spruce will start to grow, or maybe you'll find the odd one in the middle of the pines. He said those are really strong trees. And I kind of see you and I like that too. Like, where we're located is at the juncture of the change in the forest. And I think that space at the juncture is also where the learning needs to happen, so that the messaging can go back to our own kind of tree, And yeah. The other thing is, when we went down to, I wanted to say about Brian, I don't know what happened to him. He said he was going to come in here and listen. He changed his mind. People think I control him because he's quieter than me. Not even. And so another time we landed on Cortez Island, and one of the things he said as we were going to our little cabin, he said, wow, he said, the cedar trees are so soft. He said, I just feel like they're hugging me. And I was like, oh, like that's such a beautiful spiritual way to relate to your environment, that you can feel it, that you can feel it. And I'm learning to do that through my life with him. I feel the river, we're going to be heading to the river on May 19th. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? What's on your mind, Shannon?
Well, and I've said this to you, and I don't know where it might take something in a different direction, and feel free to cut it off. But when you started me looking for myself in, what is it that has, I don't know how to say it, but settlers that have this reputation of being like on the move, and like always pushing, driving for the next thing and the next growth and the next, what is that about? Is that just like, that's what it is to be white, or that's no, like, what is that? And then in your saying, we are our land, And I shared with you about coming to Italy the first time. And when I had this experience of, I can't explain it really, it was, but if anybody's ever watched Star Trek, it's like beam me up, Scotty, you know, or beam me down. It was like that. It's like I just got beamed there, and I was like there in a way, like had an experience I'd never had in my life ever. And so I remembered that when you said, I am Mylan, I started thinking, and I knew I wanted to go back to Italy. And so I came here to discover, like, what is that to be? What is that like? Is that what I felt? Is that what I felt? And I would say, yeah, I say that I am on my land, like whether I'm here. I've never experienced, like when you talk about the trees and I see the trees, I mean, many of the plants that we have in Canada are the same plants here. But I look at them here and I'm in love with them. I'm literally on the edge of tears almost every day. I'm just like in love. I'm so like, I'm a goosebump waiting to happen every minute. And I've been here for months now, twice. And I'm just, my heart is so full. I'm literally so full of love and so full of like peace and joy to be here that I'm on the edge of crying almost all the time. And I'm like, and there's nowhere to get, you know, so coming back to maybe that's what drives us. Like, and I say us white people, us settlers, drives us to always be pushing and making more and getting more, because we don't know that's missing. We don't know that just sitting in the field, you know, and listening to the bees buzzing is everything. We just don't know that just walking through that forest, it's just, I'm in the right place. And it doesn't mean I don't do things. I mean, you know, I'm still doing all the things that I did. I'm still leading seminars. I'm still doing my domestic violence prevention work, but it's all in a different context. And so maybe that's something that's missing that people don't know is missing. Because they've never had it. They're 2, 3, 4 generations away from the land that they really belong to. And, you know, I'm not saying everybody goes back, and, you know, we've had this conversation, but it's something to experience. Yeah. And maybe that's too a source of understanding, at least some appreciation of the pain. Like when I'm going to come back to Canada, you know, like the pain that we put, not just in taking Indigenous children away from their family, but to rob you of your land, of your home. Like, we don't get that. Because I move, you know, every 6 months to a year. That was just life, man. Change. Here we go. But now, take me away from here. Oh, you would just like destroy a part of me that I could never get back. So, you know, it's just like, I think that's something that's missing that we don't know.
Oh my God, your sharing just brought so many thoughts in my mind. The first one I want to start with is I'm not the kind of person yet that has a lot of like spiritual visions and stuff like that. Brian is, like, he sees things and whatever. But this morning when I woke up, I had a vision of, just a little momentary vision of a big grizzly was sitting in the yard here. And they rarely come in the yard here. We have had grizzlies in the yard here over the 30 years that I've been here, but there was a big one sitting. I know I could go to the exact spot. Maybe I should go put tobacco there after. Anyway, in my mind, and then it was gone. And I thought, okay, why would I see that? And you triggered that memory when you were sharing, because, you know, about belonging in place. Because walking again in the bush with Brian, like where the grizzlies have walked over and over, they walk the same trail. Their footprints are embedded because they walk. Same with the moose. The moose tear up the trail more. And sometimes, I guess I'll have to ask Brian. I don't know if it's because it's a different time of the year, why, you know, the moose are moving more. I'm guessing with my limited, I don't know, 30-year experience on this land, that it would probably be because the grizzlies move around in different places, but at different times of the year too. But like when we're coming out of Leo's field, climbing up that hill, that's a moose trail, clearly a moose trail. Not to say that grizzlies don't use it, but my point was that your share, like we belong here, like the animals that belong here. If you cage up a wolf and put it in Yellowstone Park, well, what does it do? It runs away. It's trying to go home, eh? And so there is that whole element of it. I don't have the answers. And then so many things race through my mind. Like, I'm a Ojibwe Anishinaabe and I'm mixed blood. So I too have blood from other land on this globe. But I've worked through that for myself in the sense that, well, my spirit was born where it was born, in Manitoba, and that's what it's choosing to experience, is this in this particular life. And so that's how I've reconciled that. And I feel connected to our land over there. And then when Brian and I got married, I'm in Tlingit land here. I'm on Tlingit land. I'm in Tlingit land. I said, that's beautiful. So I've been developing a relationship, and I'm on this land with the authority or by virtue of my husband's invitation to be a part of his life. That's another whole episode. There's so many things we could talk about. So let's, for example, if I were to outlive Brian, my question is, would I stay here? Because yes, I have a relationship with this land now. And actually, I'll just segue back to that. About maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was in the kitchen on the rare occasion that I do dishes. Shannon came up for a month and stayed with us and knows I don't do dishes. I do dishwashers. Barely. Anyway, I was standing at the kitchen sink and Brian was near me and I said, oh my God, I think I'm losing my mind. And he said, why? He finds me entertaining. And I said, because I think the Nakanoa just missed me, like the river where we go every summer. And he looked at me and just smooth as anything, like he doesn't objectify his experience the way you and I are doing right now, in order to communicate. He just is his experience. And he said, well, why wouldn't it? He said, of course it does. He said, it knows you now. If it misses you, it's because it knows you now. And I was like, whoa, brain blow up or whatever. So there's other, like so I acknowledge that I'm on Tlingit land. And because we have been so horribly impacted as Indigenous people by globalization and the idea, one world, one people, please, we're all the same. We're all human. We all bleed red. Man, that gets me, just pulls my feathers so bad, and so because we've been so impacted by that totalitarianism worldview, really, that I am the white privileged, and yet most of the world is brown. Like if you look at global population, the numbers don't add up. Most of the world is actually brown, but somehow the white people, and I'm offending a whole bunch of people now, good, come have a chat with me. And if you try to beat me up, I'm going to fight back. Just saying. So, because of what we've been through, as Indigenous people ourselves, we've become, and I believe we always were territorial people. There were wars, the Tlingit and the Tahltan have historical wars. The Sioux and Ojibwe had historical wars and made peace. There's drums that were made to signify the peace and so on. So it's not that we weren't warring or tribal, or fighting for our land. We did. But now, because of the impact of colonization, someone like me who marries in and is strong and clear, potentially will always be seen as a potential threat. Outsiders, the othering, it just doesn't happen here. It happens in all our reserves, because we were stuck on little spots of land and not our entire traditional territory. So I don't even know. I wasn't trying to answer anyway. I'm just having a conversation with you. Yeah, I don't know. If maybe people can put things in the comments, and even in the recording will have comments and give us ideas for your thoughts and other things we can talk about. But did my sharing trigger anything in you, Shannon? Your phone's going crazy.
My phone?
What's that buzzing?
Somebody is weed whacking, but they're.
Oh,
That's why I put you on mute. You should have heard it a minute ago. It's okay. They're moving away now. We're causing moving away. You know, there's like I was, what it triggered was, you know, what I created for myself is like who I am or what I'm up to in the world is empowering families and communities, causing a borderless world of peace. And before our friendship, before our conversations, I really was in that view that you just said, which is like, look, we all, you know, you cut us, we all bleed red. You know, we've done the DNA. It all goes back to some spot in Africa. I mean, what are we all talking about? You know, like if we just get along and stop trying to press in on our differences, you know, we could just, you know, kumbaya. Let's all get in a big circle and hold hands. And really, I just was so, and I have just, wow, you know, I mean, I get annoyed when people call me Sharon. Okay. Like my name's Shannon. They call me Sharon sometimes.
Yeah.
And I get annoyed at that. Well, how about we'll just call you, you know, like an argument free, or we'll just call it whatever, you know, like no recognition of, and I really, that was one of the things we went nose to nose. I think that conversation was like a good hour and a half about how, you know, we're not all the same.
No.
And, you know, arguing. And I thought, you're just arguing to be different. You're just arguing so that you can stay being a victim. And, you know, and like, you're just arguing for that. And eventually I just started listening. Took a while, but
I wore her down.
And it was that tree analogy. I was like, yeah, you know what? They're not they're not like a birch spruce. They're not, they're like, and yes, are they but they are unique, and they have their own environment, and they have their own communication, and they have their own ways. And can we live together? Yes. But if I don't honor, you know, the cedar forests, many of them are dying because we're not honoring what the cedar needs. You know, like the cedar needs the salmon, and the cedar, we're not honoring that as a, you know, human beings. We're not honoring it. It's dying. So if I don't honor what the birch tree needs, and I'm aware of what the unique needs and what has you flourish as a birch tree, and I don't honor that, then you won't thrive.
This is really good, Shannon. I'm just having a new thought here, not a new one, but a new way of saying it. Is that okay? If I don't honor, if as a country, if Canada doesn't honor what the birch tree needs to flourish, is one level of it. But when I was listening to you, I'd back it up even more. If I just don't get out of the way of the birch tree to just let it figure out what it is to be a birch tree again, because resident, you know, like I'm always beacon off about racism is legislated in Canada. Like it's legislated racism in Canada. Canada decides who is a registered Indian and who isn't, you know. And so even self-identifying isn't allowed, permitted. Oh my God. And so there's so much oppression that we face that getting to the place of depend is I am responsible for myself, depend is and we are responsible for each other. And then how can I help my friends? How can I help my relatives? How can I help my relatives? How can my relatives help me? It starts at the core of creating and holding space for individuals to rediscover and move, let the trauma go, you know, let the trauma go and rediscover who they are as, you know, Mohawk or Ojibwe or Cree or whoever they are, Coast Salish, you know, Tlingit, like whoever they are. That space doesn't exist yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It exists in this house. But one time I got this big fight with this guy about sovereignty, an Indigenous guy, because he was like, I am sovereign. I was sovereign. I was like, oh, so you never leave your house and you turned your TV off? And how'd that go for you? Like, I'm as sovereign as my ability to control or impact your response to me. And what I need in order to be sovereign is acceptance of my definition of who I am as an Anishinaabe. And so that's my view of an Indigenous philosophy of sovereignty. So we don't even have those spaces. And then worse, the oppressed have become the oppressor, because so many of our people have become indoctrinated with those ideas that we all bleed red and we're all the same and we're all human. Fuck off. Oh, by the way, there's going to be swearing on this podcast. And so don't tune again if swearing offends you. So yeah, it's yeah, so there's a whole thing there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it's when you back it up, like what you were saying about driving and seeing the trees and the forest in the Nicola Valley is like part of it that I know I came to in having the conversations we've had is we settlers need to see be and see the forest, see its uniqueness. And I like that. Back up, give it space, but let it be and see it.
Because the biggest challenge that we have as Indigenous people is, although it's no longer politically correct to challenge our self-identification. So there's a little bit of performance. I got to get my friend Laura John on here from she's in Portland, Oregon, but she was talking about performance, like all those land acknowledgements that people are doing and places are doing, and that they'll still stab you in the back. And you can still feel the vibe in the room that, oh God, we got Indians in here. It's a vibe. It's a vibe some places. So anyways, what the hell was I saying? Oh, I lost it. Went out of my head. Wait, it'll come back. Come back. Ah, it's gone. Anyway, so I was... This is how it goes.
Room for something else.
Yeah, exactly. One time, I'll tell a story instead. One time I was sitting with Mrs. Nyman, who was the oldest wolf elder here when I moved here. And I was sitting with her like this, just visiting, like I'm visiting with you. And that happened. And then she said, it went right through my head. And, being the philosopher that I am, I thought, oh my God, the knowledge is all out there. And it comes in and it comes into our head. And we're lucky if it stays long enough for us to share it, We're not, it's a process. Again, that was another big, like, mind-blowing moment for me. And that one gave me the realization that the other message we get as Indigenous people is all the real Indians are dead. What, do you want to go back to hunting with bow and arrows? You're not who you are. Like the whole frozen in time idea, it's alive. It's actually the basis of the common law in Canada and the determination of our rights in many cases. For example, I'm really been mad lately about this case called Pamajuan. Back in the day when I was articling in the early 90s, this case called Pamajuan went up to the Supreme Court of Canada on gambling, and gambling being a traditional exercise of our people. And it is. There's stick gambling, moccasin gambling, all kinds of gambling. Like, people gambled. It was a game. It was a game of chance. And Indigenous people in Canada were arguing that we've earned or been recognized to have an Aboriginal, which is the word that Canadian Constitution uses, the Aboriginal and treaty right to hunt and fish for social and ceremonial purposes, but not so much economic. So if you Indians want to be colorful and do your Indian thing and dance around, all right, yeah, you can do all that because that's good for tourism, But if you want to make some money in your own homeland, forget it. That case we lost at the Supreme Court. And I just went to some stick gambling. I didn't stay long enough, but there were just stick gambling events right here in my husband's community, because their community is working at bringing back their traditional games of chance as entertainment rather than gaming on a shooter thing, only. I mean, not to offend all the shooter gamers out there, my son of which is one. But, I'd like to see it's an and. I'd like to see my son stick gambling and winning the top gaming, whatever the hell he wants to do. So, oh my God, we're just really rambling. I don't even know where I was going with that. You go now. And then I think we've got 10 minutes left. I wanted to keep it to an hour because we're just starting. I mean, Dr. Huberman, who I follow, his podcast out of Stanford, he's a health guy. Some of his conversations are 2 and 3 hours. Like I have to drive to Whitehorse twice to get through one podcast. But for today, I feel like, we'll wrap it up pretty soon. So what happened for you when I was sharing?
Well, let me just think.
Oh, I know what it was. It came back. I'll go. It came back about the space, and then, so we need space to reconnect, not even discover. It's still all there. Reconnect with our, and I've listened to podcasts about stuff about genetic memory and like our ancestors. We need to reconnect with the knowledge that is in our blood, that does come from our ancestral experience, and I've had that experience, and the knowledge is all out there, because I thought to myself, Brian made me a drum, and years ago, and I was like, no, I'm not that kind of Indian. No, I'm like kind of Catholic. Sorry about that. Not really Catholic. Sorry about that. Go to sweats. Yeah, sorry about that. Very spiritually confused, but for sure, I was not one of those amazing drumming Indians. No, that wasn't me. And so he made me a drum, and I said, Brian, I don't even know how to sing anything. Why'd you do that? And he smiled. He said, because you're very whatever. It was something nice, he said. So I am very connected with my spirit, though. And so one spring, it was Easter time right around now. And I said to him, I have to take that drum in the bush with you, and we have to camp. And I don't know what else. That's all I know. And he said, Joan, it's still cold out. And I said, well, you've winter camped. I didn't go with you, but I saw you do it. So we went, and he shoveled out a place. Well, long story. Anyways, so made a fire, and then Lonnie was with us, and he said, I'm going to go over there and cut some wood. I'll take Lonnie so you can be alone. I said, okay. So he took off, and in a little while I could hear the chainsaw running. He's cutting wood with Lonnie. And I thought, So I turned that drum over, and I was warming it up on the fire. And then I turned it over, and I hit it. I started to sing. I was like, what the heck's going on? And I started to sing a song, and I sang that song. I think we were in Ottawa at an AFN conference to Kijipao Semako, Fred Kelly. And he said, where did you learn that song? And I said, well, it's a story. I told him, I told him the story, and then he said, that's an old song, Joan. He said, I know that song too. And I was like, what the hell? Like, it just proved that all that knowledge is out there, to me anyway. And so getting back to the space, so that braids or no braids, earrings or no earrings, dye or no dye. I tell people my iPhone is a Ojibwe because I'm holding it, full stop, And so we need the space to connect to who we are in the present, in the past, and in the future. And that's something only each of us can do. But right now, the Canadian government and all of these colonial institutions are forcing us to still assimilate, Yeah. What a speech I made, eh? Holy.
Beautiful. That says it all.
Thank you. So we've got 6 minutes to the hour. So I'd like to close up with, I know, well, maybe we'll go over the hour. I don't know. I was really impacted when you had the, going to totally shift gears here, everybody. I was really impacted. So some of you may know that I've been, I don't know whether to say fighting or concerned or what about women's issues. Like when I was 18 years old, I was a part of the group of women in Manitoba that started. Imagine, I'm 62. I was 18. Do the math. Many, many years ago, we created an organization in Winnipeg called Indigenous Women's Collective. I mean, we were using the word Indigenous before it became, popular. And so I've been all my life trying to help women and everybody else, whatever, but primarily women, because I see the oppression that we live with, and I experience it too. And so I ride a motorcycle and whatever, and I've went on quite a few rides with Chief Derek Nepanak and Chief Bone, who I understand is now retired, and to raise awareness. And Charmaine Willier Larson and I rode for 54 days, 17,000 kilometers in 2019, raising awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls. I haven't learned how to say the whole thing, so everybody and men. But so I was really impacted that day when you said to me, when it, like, you had the epiphany, that's how it occurred for me anyway, that in all your years as a police officer, the difference, like, that you'd never gone searching, like, talk about that. Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I had to look for myself. I did all different kinds of investigations, child abuse, youth. When a youth went missing, you have 24 hours missing, and then if there's no information about where they are, there's like a file launched less time if there's some suspicious circumstances, but there is a full-on investigation. And what in major crime, the first 24 hours is critical. 72 hours, it's a major, you've got the detectives out, you've got regional investigators, if that's depending what information you have. But I, for myself, had no recollection in 15 years of that kind of investigation being launched for an Indigenous woman who was reported missing. And it hit, yes, it was like I don't know about epiphany, but like, what? You telling me that we didn't have any Indigenous women going missing in 15 years? We were surrounded by, if you look where I policed 3 or 4 different reserves,
Yeah.
and a huge, population living, off reserve. Absolutely. So what's that about? Now I'm not, and look, I worked in one of the best departments, most of, I don't know how you say it, but caring, committed people, like I would say they were like the best of the best. So I'm not saying these are bad people, but it's just like blind, not even there to be seen.
Yeah.
And that's what you hit me with. It's like, if Indigenous people are not heard, they're not seen, they don't exist as to be related with.
Of value.
Of like, you would just walk by something that is not important. And that is so horrific for me to think that.
Yeah. Of yourself.
Of myself. I'm part of this. When you talk about the Canadian government or the Canadian, that's me. We can't. That's why we started these conversations. Why I want to be part of this conversation is because I can point the finger at the government or the laws, but who's upholding them? Who's keeping it in place? Me. The only time anything will change is when we say it's got to change. Yeah.
And we change individually, and that's where the whole all human thing applies. Okay? Yeah. Like, we're all human. And that's where we all have to change. For me, as an Indigenous woman, I became aware that I had started to identify as a victim. And we have a lot of our people stuck in victim identity, but not even knowing they are. And so that's the change that understandable, justifiable, all of that still happening, but I have been victimized and I continue to be victimized, but I am not a victim, and so that's the piece that of the work that needs to be supported in our community. And then in the Canadian community, people have to really learn about the different worldviews and how to, like, I would never move to Japan and just expect to, like, 100% be myself from an Indigenous point of view. I would figure out how do I have to change so that I don't upset people or whatever, So anyway, my point was, I think when I'm having a spiritual conversation, it's really hard to stay connected. It's like, so the point is that we're all human, which means we all have to change and grow, and become the best version of ourselves. And we do that in the way we choose, culturally or politically or whatever, eh? So I just wanted to say that it's not. And why does that happen? That happens because no one's having brave conversations. They're not talking about the moose in the room because they're scared to be, called racist. And we're all racist. I'm racist. Everybody's racist. Race, it's how you, when I discover that about, even I'm racist against my own self because of colonization. And when I discover that, it's cultural self-hate, I'm like, oh my God, wow. It's so painful. It's so painful to see myself as the source of my own cultural self-hate. Okay, more healing required, more therapy required, whatever. And yeah, so I'm sure we could, I have bought we'll start closing with the StreamYard here that I'm learning how to work. I subscribed to the one where I could have up to 10 guests. So as I get better, at the technology and learn, then maybe some of these larger conversations, our original vision, Shannon, where we wanted to create and hold space for brave Indigenous conversations, can happen in this, through this podcast and through this modality, I guess you say. I don't know. So let's share some closing thoughts. What are your closing thoughts, Shannon?
I'm so grateful. I'm just I want these conversations for everyone. I want them for everyone, for what's available for myself, that who I get to change and learn for myself, but for my experience of love and gratitude for you and what I learn. We could have a whole other podcast on, a day in the life, when I came up there. I was like, but,
Shannon's a great mouse killer, by the way.
I'm bringing that to Italy.
There you go.
Yeah, so I am grateful. I'm so grateful for you and for these conversations and for our life. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you too. And so I'm the same. Like, I'm so grateful. Like, you're the first white person I met that's actually in the game. Like, you're in the game. You're down there on the court in the game, all in, just as you are every day. And so, right now, I know there's many people who want to be in the game, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, but still not happening so much. So we need to just keep going, and I'm sure you'll be back. Maybe yeah. And I'm really thinking about what my son Henry said, where he said, Mom, if you've got people interested in talking to you, because I was trying to structure the podcast like the big shots, and they upload one every Monday, but that's because they're millionaires and they own a bunch of million businesses and stuff. So right now I got a lot of time on my hands now. So I think I'm gonna try and there was another lawyer from Ontario. Oh, look, we lost Shannon. Oh,
I'm
there you
back.
are. We lost you for a minute. Yeah, there's another lawyer in Ontario, an Anishinaabe lawyer, who, as soon as I did my first post that I was doing a podcast, she commented right. She said, "I'll come and be a guest anytime." So, yeah. So I think I'm gonna see when she's available. And so our plan is, I don't have a plan. That's
Well,
our plan.
where can we watch these?
The link.
So if we
Yeah.
miss the event, where do
Right.
we watch
Yeah.
them?
Yeah. I haven't learned that yet. I believe that the woman I hired, I can see that the woman I hired has created a link in my Facebook profile. And I think there's a link like that in my LinkedIn and Instagram, maybe Instagram, I don't know, in my other social media stuff. So I believe it's a Linktree page, and she's got links to my other pages and stuff, like the Nakana Call. We're going to be leaving for the river on May 19th. So excited. And so I believe the recorded link will be there, but I've got to find that out. And then of course, because I'm paying for her professional service, I'm going to ask her to make. So she's going to make, I want her to make, if it's possible, little clips that I can post that would have a live link to it. Like where you tap here, because a lot of people don't have, including me, that much, technical skill. So,
No, that'd be great. 'Cause I'd like to, and then we can share it.
Yeah, exactly.
And watch it if we miss the
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
More fun live.
Okay. Yeah, they're all going to be live conversations. And I don't know, my thoughts about editing. If people give me feedback, do they want it edited and all of our bloopers out and whatever? And we'll see. By the end of this podcast, I'm thinking that big blooper at the beginning. Yeah, I should probably edit that out where I can't find you. Like leave some of it in, because it did happen.
Yeah.
And we were brave. We both stayed online. Even though there were only like 3 people watching, we stayed online. Probably my mom and my sister and brother. Okay, well, I think we'll say Kawapaman. I'll see you again and end the broadcast. Bye from Atlin and bye from Italy, eh? Crazy.
Bye from Italy. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.